Hi, welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review, and welcome back to another installment of the FanHome Build the Millennium Falcon. I am working on pack number 6, stages 22 through 26. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. I put a direct link down below. They are now taking orders for this. Don't wait and don't miss out on this opportunity. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review, and welcome back to another installment of the Star Wars Millennium Falcon build by FanHome. And I just received shipment number 6, or pack 6, with issues 22 through 26, or stages 22 through 26. I often refer to these as stages. So we have 5 stages to build here, and we're going to be putting together more of the skeletal frame of the Millennium Falcon, along with some more padding for the corridors and the halls and such. We also received more of the jig parts, the clear jig parts, so this is going to be a great build here. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. It's truly a fantastic Millennium Falcon, and it's the biggest Millennium Falcon out there commercially that you can build as a model kit. And of course, this comes from the Empire Strikes Back version of the Millennium Falcon. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the parts that came with shipment number 6. Stage 22, some padding there. Stage 23, corridor parts, some more framing parts. Stage 24, some more framing parts, outer panels. Stage 25, more framing parts, outer panel. And stage 26, more of the outer panel. And of course we received the jigs with these, that's why the bags are so large. And we received 2 magazine holders. These are the type of, they're a box style, and you can just put your magazine inside of these. And lastly, I also received the free gift in this pack, and your gifts can vary depending on your subscription. Head over to FanHome and find out what you'll receive when you sign up for this subscription. It's a wonderful metallic mug here. Absolutely great. There you go. And here's that magazine holder. We'll take it out of the cellophane here. And just open it up here, just like that, where it's open. And the bottom side, we'll put that all together like that. There we go. Man, you can see how that looks there. We take all our magazines. I've got issue 1 up to 21. Let's slide that in just like that. And receive these number decals here, and we'll mark this binder number 1. There it is. And here are some recommended tools and supplies for your build. I would definitely recommend a really good set of sprue cutters, and those come in handy. ABS glue for cementing your plastic parts. They do recommend the super glue in the build. I find that through time the super glue will crack and break and your parts will fall off eventually. So I do like this type of glue here, the ABS type. You could use Tamiya cement also, but I think this is a lot thicker and it just does the job. A good set of tweezers. I like these ones here. They're a little thicker, really nice. And sanding sponge for cleaning up the nubs off of that. That's very handy there. And the Wera screwdrivers. And lastly, if you are a little bit sloppy with your glue application and the glue is showing through on the parts, you can always, at the very end, after the glue dries, you can take some Krylon matte finish spray paint and spray it down, and it will definitely clean up your parts and make them look very nice. Okay, let's look at what we're going to be doing in stage 22. Imperial Passenger Transport. That's fantastic there. I have the old Revell kit for that. Very nice. Secrets of Spaceflight. Wonderful articles here. And it says here, we're going to continue to assemble the passage tube by lining the rear side of the base with padding cushions. So there we go. And nice little detail here on what you're actually going to be doing. I'll give you a close-up of that. And you can see here, they're all numbered, what we'll be using and where they go. So about 8 parts total. And we'll have some extras left over in the middle there. And that's what it should look like. Let me get the parts, so I'll be right back. Here's the parts pack for 22. Let's get a closer look. There's those parts. These are those cushion pads. Very nice there. We'll have to cut them off, clean them up a little bit, then we'll glue them down. If you wanted, you could actually take a Sharpie and you could write down the numbers on the back, corresponds with the instructions. And here's our piece here for building the skeletal frame of the Millennium Falcon. And we'll be doing that in stage 24. And as a note, I did put chapters down below into the description, so you could click over to chapter 24 or stage 24 for that assembly of these parts here. We received more screws for that and some two metal connectors. The other thing I would recommend, and it may not be necessary right now, but later on in the future it may be, you'll have your extra parts that you're not going to assemble in this particular stage. I would recommend you bag these up in a separate bag and mark your screws, because the screws do matter. The length of them can affect especially your body panels. If you put too long of a screw in those body panels, it could come out the other side and ruin your finish. So definitely I would recommend you mark your parts in a separate bag and put them aside. Like I said, it may be helpful to you to mark your parts, put part numbers on those on the back side, and then when you cut them off, you'll know exactly where they need to go. I cut them off the sprue tree and I cleaned off the edges with a sanding stick. Also did mark them. I have them upside down just to show you how they line up, and that's exactly how they'll go on the side of the passage tube. Here's our passage tube. So you'll have the bottom ones and the top ones. If you want, you can go ahead and just remove these pads temporarily. Put them off the side as you took them off, so you know how they go back on. And we have room now to go ahead and glue those in. I'll start with this one here. And it will evaporate if you're not fairly fast with it, but here we go. Then the one right above it. That's how that looks there. And there you go. They are all glued in. And you can see I did make a little bit of a mess with the glue there. I'm going to let this dry, then I'm going to hit it with some flat clear Krylon. And there you go. I hit it with the flat clear. You can't see where I made my mistake with the glue. Looks great. And I put the supports back in. And that completes stage 22. Let's head over and do stage 23. And there you go. I am really enjoying this build. It builds just like a model kit. You can do what you'd like with this. You can add all the detail and all the weathering that you like and what you prefer. I'm not going to do that here because I am building this for FanHome and for you, just to show you how it builds very nicely without having to do any upgrades to it. So here's 23. Go here through the magazine just real quick. Very nice there. Again, that's really cool there. And this time we're going to complete the passage tube itself. And we got more parts for the skeletal frame. And there's that detail there for the passage tube. I'll give you a close-up look at that. And we continue here, completing the passage tube. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 23. Larger bag here. Receive the jig here. Barely see it in there. Let's get a closer look. Here's all the parts for 23, and here's our jig. I went ahead and marked it with a 23 on it. And here's our top of our corridor, made of plastic with the ring. Once again, some more frame pieces and a connector, large connector for that. Some connector and screws. I marked the bags 23. Also, these will go into a separate bag for stage 23, and the little cushions for the jig. And here's those pads removed from the sprue. I cleaned up the nubs with a sanding stick, and I went ahead and marked them. And you can see number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go ahead and glue those in. And they're all glued in. We'll go ahead and bring over a passageway. This is going to go on top of the passageway. I'll show you from this side. Just goes down on top of there. Make sure you line up your lugs on top. There they are. And we'll put our ring on to hold everything together. Just like that. And this will eventually mount to the other passageway. They don't want you to mount it yet because it's actually going to get mounted with screws, as you can see. But there you go. That completes stage 23. Let's head over and do stage 24. Let's continue with pack 6, stage 24. Look at the magazine here just real quick. And here we go. We're going to assemble the bottom frames in this stage, and we're going to line them up just as illustrated here. And I'll show you what that looks like as a close-up here. And this shows you how everything lines up there. Step by step, but if you follow my video, I'll show you how to do it where you don't run the risk of breaking any of the parts or stripping the screws. And this is where we can go ahead and test fit the hull plating. And I'll probably go ahead and do that just to show you how that all looks. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts pack for stage 24. Let's get a closer look. Here's all the parts. One of the hull platings here has some blast marks on it. And some more skeletal framework. Some connectors. Real long connector there. Some small ones in this bag. I did mark the bag 24 and 24. Okay, so off camera I went ahead and lined up all the frames we're going to put together in this build. And that's how they look in the instructions. I also lined up all the connectors, the two long ones on the side, the 4 screw connector with the brass screws. Those brass screws are the longer ones with the tight threads, the very fine threads. And then all the other connectors that put them together with all the black screws for those. Now, the key here is to install all your screws and connectors loosely. Don't tighten them down. Get them all loose. And then when we have all this assembled, we're going to hook that up to our frame that we already previously assembled in the previous stages, and that's this right here. Okay, we'll bring that over and we'll hook it up to that. Everything will still be loose when we do that. This way you don't run the risk of breaking anything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and I will be right back. Alright, everything is assembled here for the lower hull frames, and everything is loose still. You want to take your time with this, be patient, get all your hardware installed, all the connectors, all the screws, get it all going. That's what it looks like there. Okay, now we're going to hook this up to the other frame that we previously built. We're going to be hooking it up to 4 connectors that are on the side here, plus we have our screws. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, everything is hooked up now. I hooked up the 4 connectors here on the edges. They're still loose, and you can see the entire assembly here. So now I need to tighten down all the screws from this stage that I put in on all these panels here. I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, everything is tightened up. Looks great there. When you go to install this on there, check your top edge to make sure the top edge is lined up and even, and your bottom edge is lined up and even. You shouldn't have any problems. Turn this over, and there you go. Now remember, this is very fragile. So when you want to store this somewhere, store it in a place where it's not going to fall off a shelf or something like that. It could be very detrimental to it if it's dropped. So be very careful with it. So I'm going to go ahead and fit the body panels, and I will be right back. Next, I'll bring over this panel. It's BPO1, and we're going to cut this part off here. And we're going to glue it down on top of the panel, those 2 holes. You have a large hole and a small hole, and that's how it's going to mount into it. And you can see the large and small. I'm going to line up with that. ABS glue. Just like that. Looks good. And this shows how the hull plating all lines up. And one of the panels we want you to test fit is this one here, just to make sure all your screw holes line up. Everything protrudes fine there, and it looks good. Now I'll go ahead and put on the body panels. And there you go. There's all the body panels test fitted. I just wanted to see what it looked like. I think it looks great. Just be very careful when you do this, because like I said, the frame is very fragile. So with that, that completes stage 24. Let's head over and do stage 25. Now let's work on stage 25. Real quick look at the articles here. Again. And this time we're going to access to the gun turret is through a corridor. We're going to work on these corridor pads. And very meticulous here. I'm going to do most of this off camera and show you what I did. But you can see I can give you a close-up of how everything's numbered. And probably the best way to do this is to leave them on the sprue tree, cut them off, and glue them as needed onto the panels. So you can see how they're numbered. Again. And there. Everything's glued together there. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 25. Get a closer look. And here's all the parts. We received the other jig. I went ahead and marked it with a 25. And screws here, I marked them with a 25 also. The panel itself. We did receive the pads. And here's another frame. And the corridor we're going to be assembling in this stage with all the pads. Here's the first set of access walls. These are actually smaller than the other set. And here's the padding for those, just like in the instructions. I'll go ahead and put these on and I'll be right back. Here's the first set. This is the smaller set. All the pads are glued on and I went ahead and gave it a matte clear coat. And here's the next set. They're a little bit larger. I'll go ahead and glue on these pads off camera and I'll be right back. And here you go, the last set is completed. All the cushions are glued down and I clear coated it. And here's all the panels completed. We're going to go ahead and assemble these in the next stage, stage 26. So let's head over and do the final stage for this video, stage 26. Let's look at the final stage for pack 6, stage 26. Real quick here. Wow, I love this medical frigate. Hyperdrives. Great article there. Talks about the technology for that. And here we'll complete the access tunnel, fitting the 4 walls, floor, and ceiling. We have all those parts. We got some new parts here. So let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 26. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Here's the part of the jig here, and I did mark it with a 26. Also, the screws that came in this bag, I marked with 26 also. Another panel we received. Very nice. And more skeletal framework along with a connector. And the corridor, floor, and roof. And we have an extra floor here for another assembly later on down the road. Now I'll go ahead and assemble the access tunnel, and we're going to take the larger curved piece. That's going to go on first, and it's just going to dovetail in just like that. And the next one beside it, dovetail in beside it. That's how they'll look there. Do the same thing on the other side. Dovetail that in, and lastly dovetail that one in. And lastly, we'll put the ceiling on. We'll put the smooth side facing down, and that's going to dovetail in on both sides. Line up everything. Push it down when everything's lined up. That's how that looks. There's that tunnel from that side and from that side. Looks great. that's all we do with stage 26. Had a blast building this so far. I'll be right back. And there you have it. That completes pack number 6. We worked on some of the frame components. We got those all assembled with no issues whatsoever. We finished this corridor here, this larger one. We built this little tunnel here, and we installed a very small piece on top of that frame part there. Looks great. If you think you'd like to get this for yourself, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. I put a link in the description below. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.